What's up, everybody, man? Thank you for jumping in here with us for another episode of Expert Mentors Live. This is episode 31. Super excited to have Robbie Breaux on with us. And, man, jumping into definitely a topic that is definitely going to raise the emotional state for not only ourselves, but for a lot of folks tuning in and listening to this. And
myself, too.
Yeah. So before we jump in, I just want to let everybody know if this is the first Expert Mentors call or if you've watched all 31, the Expert Mentors Live, this live training we do every Wednesday at noon Central was really born out of, the absolute horsepower that's within the Honey Badger community, fast forward movement, with the likes of Kyle Whistle, Daniel Beer, obviously Jay and Michael and Al and folks just like Robbie and a lot of you guys listening. And so what we really are trying to accomplish with our Expert Mentors Live is just tap into the talent of the community and really allow all of the amazing people to give back, because that's really what they want to do. And it's what Robbie's going to do today. And just really super excited for all of the episodes. And today is no different. So, Robbie, man, let's not hold back, man. Let's just jump in and get into today's topic.
Cool, man. So we'll be proverbially naked here. So bear with me if I get a little teary-eyed right here. So thanks for having me. I'm excited to jump in. So I guess I've been licensed since 2006. I was an individual agent for about 6 years, and everybody kind of talks about wanting to work with a builder. That's you get drilled in by your brokers to work with a builder because it helps provide listings, which ends up getting buyers leads and so on and so forth. So this particular builder was not necessarily a track builder, but he would do. We were that I was targeting in 2014. My team had sold 5 of his houses on the co-broke side, and his agent hadn't sold. His listing agent hadn't sold any. And I think there's we'll kind of jump in. There's always that life cycle that pops up with these builders that everybody's in love, and then when the market starts shifting, the first person that inevitably is the problem child ends up being the agent. So I'm jumping in 2014 with an agent that had been doing really well for this particular builder. She had a down year on the things that were selling for her. He was in the 200 to 300. He was doing a couple here and there in the $400,000 price range, even up to the 455. 1 or 2 specs just starting to kind of jump up and move around. And when we met, when we partnered up, it was the beginning of 2015, and I bumped him from the upper 2s to the 300-400. There was a nice spot in the price range where absorption rates were just a touch about the same or a touch lower in the $100,000 price point higher. And he was, we were talking about what success looks like and how can we make more by not doing as much. So we were in that 370 to 440 range. We listed 4 at the beginning of January. Within 120 days, all of them were under contract or sold. Within that 120 days, I'd brought to him a pre-sold, which he had never messed with before. He paid both sides 5 apples for that deal, which is a pretty sweet deal. And later on, couple of months later, he brought a buyer of his that called his cell phone and gave me both sides.
Oh, wow.
Hell yeah, this is awesome. And he's like, look, this is my way of being able to invest back into the marketing because you guys do a lot of stuff. So when we jumped in, I was like on board, ready to go. And we did, we basically revamped everything. We started his own Facebook page, Instagram. We were doing, 3D Matterport came in because we started doing some of those that were closed to be able to go in and show off some of his floor plans and some of that stuff and being able to highlight. And we were doing really well. In 2015, we had let's see, since we started, basically he started a clean slate. So the stuff that he had is existing inventory. We did 9 in 2015, 3 dual agencies, meaning my team brought to the table. One of those was something that he brought. 2016, we did 19 sales. 6 of them were brought up by us, and nothing through him. He had a new personal record in his income that he came in for the year. He was just shy of $1 million, which was a big hit, and that was really exciting for me too. And we were able to, almost come to a spot where things were going really well. And in 2017, we did 18, and 6 of them were team driven. 2 of them he had brought 2 of the buyers over to the table. They were both pretty big. We were in the 500 to 650 range. To backtrack a little bit, in 2016 we started seeing actually 2015 we started seeing some drop in the oil field prices, which is where a large chunk of our markets come from. And we are heavily oil dependent. So mostly from the service sales side, and a lot of these guys are buying nice size houses. So inventory is starting to creep up. And he's always been of the, type A drive, just grind and push through, put more houses down. So what he ended up looking at was in 2017, we started another subdivision where we dropped 10 down. He was going to hire a superintendent to be able to run those deals, and the price point was going to be back at that 250 to 280 because there was another sweet spot in the market trends for that spot. So what we ended up doing, and concepts and all that stuff kind of jumped in and out from what we were planning on doing. But the idea was to have a superintendent run it, and I think we ended up getting. He ended up getting a little greedy, trying to make the same margins with the superintendent, the same take home with the superintendent put into play, and not making up for the amenities. So, when the amenities slack and everybody else is starting to sell, by the end of 2017, we had 2 of those 10 sold. One of them was brought by myself, but the bread and butter that we were really doing really well in, that 400 to 600,000, we were jumping into some real high ticket items, getting a bunch of pre-solds and stuff like that.
Right.
That was carrying the load, but the stress of $20,000 a month in interest payments were starting to wear down, and we would that would bring a whole bunch of extra stress. So rationalizations weren't necessarily out, and the weren't making a whole lot of sense. So 2017 also, we built my personal house. He helped out on the contractor side. We had a little payment agreement, helped him out a little bit, and the other side was, I'd end up listing his for nothing, at least on my side, as a thank you for babysitting my job for 10 months. So there was so fast track that. We've got coming close to the end of closing on ours. And you've got a lot of pressure of houses that weren't selling. There was a lot of blood boiling. So things that used to slide aren't necessarily sliding because we got some pressure going on with the house. We got some pressure going on with houses that aren't selling. And we got another couple of albatrosses that had started at the beginning of the year, and just, man, it showed constantly. We offered discounts, refrigerator, furniture, whatever. We just couldn't get rid of them. And that's where the ship started to fall. So we would end up getting to the pressure cooker, which would pop up. I would get text messages at 5 o'clock in the morning that had my wife and my assistant on it, saying that the flyers were out at 3 houses with pictures of it.
It's coming unraveled. It's coming unraveled.
Man, here it comes, dude.
Hurry.
And man, my phone would ring at 8. Call again, text, and then I'd call back and say, hey man, I'm getting such and such painted for such a time. I'm like, man, why 7 times in a row? I mean, it was just, it was always something. We would get one of them under contract, it'd be good for 2 days, and then the next one was bam, 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 bam. It's just you get into a spot where emotionally, I was on edge all the time. I was taking it out on my kids. I was taking it out on my wife, my assistant, everybody. And it was just really, really bad. I mean, I'm always on high alert, super defensive. And it was just, it was pretty intense, man. And even as I talk about it, I kind of shake a little bit.
Yeah. And you start to see the signs, right? And, starting out, great relationship, you're helping them grow, getting into market. And, it's just a great lesson, even, going through this experience. And it's great, for everybody listening in, that it's always layers deeper, right? So a couple of key things that you hit on is that you find these builders, right? They get some momentum, and they want to continue to grow, and they step off out there, and they potentially overextending themselves, especially when you find how they're living, right? And if they start living out of the houses, meaning off the draws and getting things built, that's how they're maintaining their life. And when the market starts to slow, if they're not set up correctly financially, man, they that's like you said, man, that pressure comes in and they take it out on everybody else around them. And especially, us as agents working with them. So, there's some things that I know we'll get into it, talking about some best practices. It's just, I think it was really important for everybody to kind of understand the build up to your story here in really working with builders. I mean, you went, man, almost 2.5, 3 years, great relationship, win-win all the way around. Kind of finish that story for everybody where it just kind of exploded.
So towards the end of the year, we had actually started looking at moving companies from where I was, which is the top residential broker by a long shot as far as market share is concerned. They had a great name. It's not a brand that everybody hears, but from around here, that's what you see everywhere was their signs. And obviously having him on board was really important. So we got his blessing, and this was probably May, June that conversation started. Come November, we're coming towards the end of my house. Now we're setting up for our team's office, getting that all built out, finishing up my place, getting all that stuff done. And then we get to January 1 to where we had our official start date over at EXP. So now that we've got there, we're coming into all the extra logistics of, learning the new systems that are involved with the new onboarding. There were some things that we hadn't been used to. We hadn't used SkySlope before, so that was a new one to be able to deal with and learning to manage all that stuff. So the focus got taken off of, this is whether you're working with a builder or not, and I found that myself, I would stop doing the things because so many of these big ticket dual listings, I'd have 30, 40 grand out in commissions that were coming in 3 to 6 months. And it was like, man, I can take the foot off the gas a little bit, right, and be able to enjoy an extra amount of time. Because I've always been that go, 80 to 100 side a year agent. I don't know how to stop. I'm full blast. So I'd take the foot off the gas, because the GCI, the income goal that I was shooting for and still being able to do the things that I wanted to do with the kids was getting met. And I took my foot off the gas for prospects. So anyway, that's off to the side. So January 1, the note got called on 2 houses that were totaling up to about $1 million, into January. Going into February, we scheduled a surgery for my wife. He was looking at, come to find out, hindsight 2020, he was looking at making a change back over to our old brokerage and making those calls while we were out of town, making sure she was getting through all of the surgery. And on February 28th, I got a text message to withdraw 2 of the listings that were inside that subdivision that was going super slow in that 240 to 280 range. So I'll pause and think. And actually, before I jump into that the Friday before, I brought $1 million worth of pre-sold meetings, an $800,000 one and another one in the problem child neighborhood. We had $1 million worth of pre-sold meetings that were going on that Friday. That after we met and talked about some ideas of what we were going to end up doing, that afternoon I got a text message of, hey man, so-and-so is getting his house highlighted on your Instagram page. Why isn't mine? I'm like,
life is dealing with the builder.
I was like, man, like what else could I possibly do to, you know, I don't know what else I could possibly do to be able to see that I'm busting my ass for you. Excuse my French. I know we're
it's all right.
I'm just absolutely killing myself. Like 80% of my day revolved around this guy that was doing, you know, a large chunk of my personal business. And man, it was just insane. So finally that Monday I got the text to go withdraw these 2 listings. I said, look, you know, I don't feel like you're pushing the houses like you should. I don't feel like you're doing what you're capable of, or doing nothing. Actually, it came up as you're not doing anything. And I'm like, all right. So here's where another aha comes in later. You know, hindsight always being 20/20. This is when 2 egos collide. And my thought was, you know, if you want to see what doing nothing looks like, I'm about to show you. Yep. So we stripped down everything. If it wasn't in the listing agreement, I didn't do it. No text riders, no flyers, no, you know, we had to have 1 picture in the MLS. We just had 1 picture in the MLS. We had to have a lockbox up there and a for sale sign. So everything else, all of the social media, all of the tours, all of the posts on our page, on his page, we were managing all these things. But I was like, you know what? We're taking it all out. And then the fire really started. So, you know, we had a big old subdivision sign. He came and dropped it off over at my office at 6 o'clock in the morning the next day. He was calling our state broker 20 to 25 times a day for 3 weeks, just trying to do whatever he could to get me removed. And finally we ended up coming to, dude, it was crazy, man. Like when I tell you, there was like a tit for tat going on right there. Yeah. We were gonna, and actually another one, we were gonna end up investing, you know, a couple of months ago, we talked about doing an $800,000 to $900,000 spec in a neighborhood that's really just killing it right now. And we decided, you know, if it was coming towards the end of building our house where some of the stress was really getting elevated, we're like, no, it's just not the market right now. We'll go ahead and do that. I'll tell you that because right after that 3-week period, he bought the 2 lots directly across the street from me to build 2 $800,000 specs as something to be like, hey, look what you're missing. So it was, I mean, there was always these little angles of how can I get back at you? So I talk about that because it literally consumed my daily, you know, we broke up like high school. And all you could think about and talk about for a few months, because I had so much effort and energy and emotion you know, into it, that like it's still consumed.
Right.
I can't believe I did this, you did this for me, I did that. And it was crazy, man. Like I said, I still shake a little bit because it does kind of piss me off that we did all these things and it's just like, you're forgotten. So now coming on to the new part. So what does life look like? We ended up, you know, all of the listings, we ended up having reserved names for a year. And we ended up, in order to get rid of I think I had like 20 listings with them. So we ended up taking a referral fee if they sold within the contract period, or if they ended up buying one of the reserve names, which I held everything for a year. We got a couple of those too. So we ended up still getting paid, which was nice. Got some little residual income to help carry us through. That was pretty cool. But, you know, moving back, I had to get out of my own head of, you know, I'm not there running some of the jobs like I was doing. It was more about, you know, he's doing this for me, so I need to be, you know, this much better for him as an agent, and do that much more. Because, you know, basically taking more. We talk about taking our names out of boxes when you're doing. I was putting myself in more of his to make it more valuable, and it was, you know, it was killing my own real estate business. But I was too blind because it was easy. And everything was centralized, and I just didn't have to do the hard stuff to be able to get moving.
Yeah, there was that huge trade-off too, right? You know, especially on the emotional side, and they really, you know, can consume you. Yeah, you know, I think a couple things, you know, kind of as you know, talking through there is that, when they get to that point on those type of homes, the pressure, like you said, is there. One of the things is that, like, man, building a house, building an office, moving an office, surgery. It's like, it's just like, that was like the perfect storm for everything and distractions and things going on.
Just my stuff. We had 10 other people to worry about too, man. It was just chaos all the time. So
yeah, crazy stuff. So hindsight, it's always easier looking back. Let's talk about some of the big lessons learned. If you could, knowing what you know now, going back, what are some of the things that you would have definitely done differently?
So first off, I think when we came in, if I'm gonna keep on running with the high school girlfriend analogy, you do all these things to be able to impress the cheerleader, if you will, to make them like you, right?
Right.
So doing all these things, I found all these holes in what he was doing and how we could promote it better. And instead of just systematically doing a couple of things at a time, it was like full court blitz, all out blitz of everything that we could change. And I think pulling those things out a little bit at a time, doing a couple of them at a time, that way they're always feeling like when you implement something new, you hang out and you give yourself a little bit of time to see how those things are going for when the shift will happen, because the year's going to go up and down depending on how, the timing that these slabs get that poured out, or, one job gets thrown off because some other one is taking up a lot of your time. So timing kind of means everything whenever these things are finished. If you're finishing at the very end of the year, you're not getting as many buyers where we're at. Winter's typically dead, and I would imagine it's like that across the country in a lot of places. But when some of those things end up being dead, they start becoming stale. That's when you're going and implementing different ideas to be able to help them move, instead of giving, like I said, I gave 20 ideas. And then I'm like, man, I'm racking my brain. I can't think of anything. We're talking about, we've done videos, we've done drones, we've done Matterport. Like, what else do you do?
Yeah.
Other than like, hey, we're just not positioned right. We've got 20 houses in the neighborhood, and in the last 3 months, one of them's gone under contract. So that tells me we got to be the best price or the best condition or offering a hell of a lot of incentive, because nobody's making a move right now.
Right.
So, but a lot of, and making sure that people understand stats, because it's hard to make something out of nothing. And, in a buyer's market, there's always going to be a price for a buyer that's going to want to buy that house, but it may not necessarily agree with the one that the seller has. So having that conversation on the front of what does, when all hell breaks loose and problems pop up, what's their, how do they handle those? If I would have known what chaos looked like on the front, I probably still would have gone through and worked with this builder, just because it was such a huge opportunity.
Sure. And,
ego came into play because, he's had a habit of dumping people every 3 to 5 years, but I'm better. I'm me, and,
yeah, for sure. Yeah. We think we can solve it, right? It ain't gonna be us. It ain't gonna happen to us. And so
it's not gonna happen to us, because, I'm Robbie, and that's this is how it goes. Nobody says no.
So that's awesome. So slowly implementing ideas, kind of testing it in with the market, holding on to certain things as the market shifts, right? Even a 3-year period is going to be, it's not going to be the same for all 3 to 5 years. So you've got to know how to deal with that and be able to move, accordingly of what you need to do. Understanding, like you said, the statistics, market statistics, what's going on. From all of our experience with builders and, even us building homes when we were in Lawton, it was extremely critical and important to understand, where are the buyers at in the market? And you nailed that. And I knew that you had gone through it, and it's a threat, right? So when we were talking strategy and stuff, SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. When you know what your market is dependent upon, and it's like you said, heavily dependent, oil, you guys are heavily, oil dependent market. It's like Lawton is extremely heavily dependent military market, right? So that's a threat. And like, that's been on our strategic plan for the last 10 years. We always talk about it. What happens if Fort Sill slows down? They're not bringing in as many permanent party. You know, what happens if Fort Sill shuts down, right? It's like, you get the hell out of, you leave, right? You have to.
On your way out, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, I think that's key for everybody listening in. You can have some great relationships with builders. And I think the key thing that Robbie just shared with everybody is that this builder has a tendency about of every 3 to 5 years of shifting. That's normal. That's normal with builders across the country, builders that we've worked with. A couple things are going to happen. They're going to get to a point, if they're on a growth trajectory, they build a great product, potentially they're going to get to a point. Their goal is to get inside in-house sales, right? Where they have an in-house salesperson, where they don't need realtors to list their properties, just to help bring buyers. Or they're going to shift, and you just gotta, it's just the nature of the game, right? You know, I mean, it is what it is. So just know there's an expiration on that. And just understand the value that you bring. I know all the builders that we've worked with, they want to know what the hell's going on in the market. What are the market conditions? What are the buyers? What do the buyers want? And making sure that you're giving them that feedback so that they're building the right product for the market at the time.
Yeah. You know, one thing too that we were starting to do, and I think, like, looking back, we talk about what success looks like. At the beginning, I felt like I was running, like a hamster on a wheel, and it was just sell. But like, where are you happy? Are you happy at $500,000 a year in revenue? Are you happy at 600? What does that look like? So let's reverse engineer, just like we do with our agents, to see what their goals are.
Yep.
We talked about that, but what I should have done different is, when we broke all of those out, is be like, hey, look, I realize you want to crush your goal. That's great. We can always reevaluate, but sign off saying that you're okay with this. Is, when tomorrow, when you forget and you're chewing my butt out for something that's completely unrelated, and we're 40% over our goal, where we're going to beat our goal by 40%. I'm at to remind you, be like, hey, remember, hey.
Yeah. That's a rider downer for everybody listening. It is always about agreements versus expectations. And if you do not set that agreement, so the way we look at it, it's with anything, right? If you, and you can apply this even with your team members, if you don't have a clear written agreement of what is success, then you're leaving it up to expectation. And when you leave anything up to expectation, especially with dealing with another human being, you're going to be let down 100% of the time, because Robbie's definition of success with that builder is completely different than that builder's definition of success. And so what Robbie just shared with you guys is absolutely 100% critical. If you are going to work with the builder, it's a principle that you can apply anywhere with any agents, anything in your life you can apply it to, is that with the builder, you got to get clear on what is that definition, get it in writing, sign off on it. And then that way, when you get that phone call, so the conversation would go, they're chewing your ass or whatever. And it's like, well, hold on. Hey, according to what we agreed upon, we are meeting everything we agreed upon. You are, 50% above what the goal is, yet you're frustrated. So let me ask, has the goal changed? Right? Do we need to change the agreement? And always bring it back to the agreement, and you'll keep them focused, because shit, they might have, it's like you said, man, they got big egos, and they could have been having a beer with another competitor builder, and, measuring whose ego was the biggest. And then, all of a sudden they make a decision that they want to, change the goal without letting you know. So that was a great point there.
We went through and we had that conversation. I didn't get them to sign it. And I think that's probably the thing that was the most important, because when you sign it, it almost makes it really makes it official, even though you don't bring it over to an attorney's office or to court, but when they sign it, they're like, oh, you're right. It's more of a, no, I didn't change my mind. And one of the ways that we would do that, we just put it's super easy. It doesn't have to be super high tech, Excel spreadsheet or Google, a Google Doc or a Google Sheet. This is the address. This is the sales price. This is the anticipated profit margin. This is what the close margin on, and what is your goal? How many houses do you have to be at? If your target is to make 30 grand a house, 50 grand a house, whatever that number happens to be, how many do you have to do to be able to reverse engineer that target number of what that looks like? Sign it, done. We had everything but the signature. And I didn't have anything to be able to go back and, you mentioned when you tie it back to the agreement, now what? Like, hey man, you don't have to hire a superintendent because I'm calling your electricians on Monday and Thursday because they're not there, which, by the way, it's not my job, but I didn't get paid extra for that. So
you get sucked into those activities too.
I did it to myself. So, when we always come back and self-reflect and how do we do things a little bit better? Like if you're doing things just to, business versus busyness, if you're doing things just to be busy, that's what I did. And it wasn't really moving the needle to be able to inject business. And it was taking times away, which was important to be able to, my other huge driver was personal referral and sphere. I used to call my, all of my past clients and friends, it was super simple. It's never been a ton. Five people a week. Make sure you have a good conversation. If you could do coffee or a lunch with somebody, even better. But that face-to-face stuff, and I stopped because I was too busy, parading around and trying to make sure that, my buddy on Jekyll and Hyde was happy, depending on what minute of the hour that was happening to be. So,
man, great point. And if you're not careful, and you and I talked about this the other day, I feel it's the same way as working REO properties, is that it forces you into bad habits if you're not careful, right? It puts you into a very reactive state, which is not the habits you want to have in this business, well, with anything, right? The great habits of being proactive allow you to stay in control of your calendar. We always talk about it. You're either on your schedule or you're on somebody else's. And that builder will put you on his schedule if you're not careful. I know one of the key things that was really important for us with one of our builders that we had the opportunity to work with in Lawton, we set up weekly meetings where we had a set time in the calendar every week that we would sit down. We would go over all the market statistics on the properties. So what eyeballs we were getting, how much foot traffic through the door, any feedback we were getting, kind of where we were at, status updates on every property, even if they were in escrow, where they were at. And we had one time that we went through everything with them. And I know we got into a really good habit of when he would call, and Stace was the one that worked with Tabor. And what Stace would tell him is like, hey, Tabor, do you want me to just add this to our meeting agenda when we talk on Thursday? So they talked at Thursday, at 11 o'clock on Thursday for the 3 years that he was in the market that we worked with him. And he would start chewing Stace's ass about something. He's like, great, you want to talk about this on Thursday at our meeting? So we trained him, right? So Tabor knew when he was going to be able to get Stace's full attention, to get all the updates, give feedback, and make the adjustment week over week over week. So that's being proactive. That's putting that builder on your schedule, getting clear, like with what Robbie said, guys, get that damn agreement in writing, get it signed off on, establish a meeting of success. A couple things to keep in mind, and this helps, right? What is the goal of the builder? And you got to get clear with them on what their goal is, but their goal is to turn that property as fast as they can. That's how they make their money. So what are you doing to help them collapse time, collapse the properties? And shit, man, you brought that builder gold. You brought them pre-solds. That's the holy thing that builders look for.
My thought was always like, man, these pre-solds are here to be able to help offset the ones that just the albatrosses, if you will, the ones that sucked all the money dry. But again, when you have that spreadsheet that's out there, I tried to use that to be able to deflect, but again, if you don't sign it, it doesn't work.
Right, man. That's a great point. I love that. Get that in there. Say, hey, our team is going to proactively look to try to get you some pre-solds. We're not going to promise any, but we're going to try to proactively get some. And that way it'll offset, like you said, that albatross, the one that just sits there and it's the head scratcher. It's like, man, this dude is bad. I don't know why it's not moving. I mean, you'll get that lemon every now and then in there, man. That'll just like, what the heck is going on here? So they have to cut margins to be able to move, to turn the property, right? That's what the builder wants to do. They want to turn the property. And but that's a great distinction. I think I would definitely use that in there as well. What you're going to proactively look for pre-solds to help offset those ugly ducklings that that tend to pop up.
You know, and even just almost at a point where you have to remind them, like, hey, remember, you have to remind them about when their focus is on that lemon, about the gifts, if you will, the pre-solds that were set up.
You know, that's a great point, man. Thinking about that, I would even go ahead and throw that out on the table in the beginning. It's like, hey, what do we want to hedge? What do we want to say? One lemon to every 10. What's kind of your ratio, Mr. Builder, Mrs. Builder, that you guys kind of see that we can, proactively, we know they're going to come. How can we proactively, stay out in front of it?
Yeah, I think, over in our market too, there's so much pressure inside the builder community to not cut their prices to screw up comps, and they try to go back to that for the last, at the last minute, but man, even offering, being aggressive when you have, those 20 active listings and only, 1 or 2 pending in the last 3 months, it doesn't smell for very, very good things. Is it the right time to even be putting this product out here? If you can prevent it on the front end because the market's telling you nobody's making moves in this neighborhood for whatever particular reason, instead of, hey, I've got these things reserved, I'm going to just drop them down because, I need to keep my guys busy. You have that tough conversation like, look, man, I'm costing myself money by telling you to not list this right now. It's not a smart thing because you're going to end up building this thing for free.
That's it, man. And one thing that was running through my mind as you were saying that is, and I know you don't have a problem with it, and Stace wired the same way, is don't let them hold you hostage and fearful that, they're going to take their business elsewhere. You have an expiration on it, but the thing is that make sure you're always, always, always telling them what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. And just know that so what if they move on? Because guess what? If you could wave the magic wand, what's the ideal, is that your ICP as a client that you want to work with? If somebody that's going to, text you at 5 a.m, somebody that's going to, drive you batshit crazy and that, affects how you impact your life with your family, hell no. It's not worth it. So let's kind of shift gears with the folks and, knowing the experience, everything that you've gone through, if you were to evaluate and take on another builder relationship, what would that have to look like for you in your definition of success?
It's funny you mentioned that. So within a month of Lafayette's a small, big town. And, everybody knows everybody. And, within a month or less, I got called by a couple of builders about representing them. And it was like, man, I don't know if you know this, but I'm just coming out of a really bad relationship. It probably will be you, but
I'm a little hurt, I just want you to know I'm going to be a little fragile for a while here.
We ended up, popping in, and I've got one right now, and it works real good. We've had a couple of bumps on the few that we've got under contract right now and getting to closing, but we had that conversation on the front end, like,
yep.
This is what the absorption rates are looking like. This is, when you've got X amount of homes that are on the market and this many are going pending every month, there's a good possibility that you're going to end up taking this, or I may be making more than you. Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Because if you're not, we go ahead and kill this right now because I'm not going through this again.
Yep.
And having that conversation, and then I did what we talked about before. We talked about what does success look like. I didn't get them to sign. I'm actually going to make them sign it after kind of talking through this thing with you too. Awesome. I want to make sure that pops up. But, having that conversation, and we're rolling out little things at a time. So we rebranded him, did a brand new logo. He had did his own personal one, which wasn't it was aesthetically pleasing to him, but we're trying to go and get for a more broad reacher, a broader market, the ones that would speak to the people that are going to buy his house to go and rebrand him. then
Huge value add.
little things at a time, to instead of just dropping all of it, like call it like the magic move. You drop the magic, you ain't got nothing left. So when things pop up, you've got something else to be able to go jump in. Like, hey man, I'm trying to brainstorm to figure out what we can do to move this house. Let's try this.
Right.
As things pop up, you can introduce them slower, and then set up those times. And this, we were doing monthly meetings with, talking about big picture, small picture, but I would have a phone call to 4 or 5 every day with the old one, having that weekly meeting of, this is where the people are, this is feedback on this is showing, this is the foot traffic in the neighborhood, this is this. And then when they call fussing, hey, let's go ahead and meet them up, and we're going to be implementing that. So definitely we'll be implementing that. This relationship's fairly new, but setting the boundaries of, I don't answer my phone after 5 o'clock because it's family time. Like, unless the house is on fire, which is your problem, not mine.
Yeah.
Like, if it's an emergency, I'll call you. Otherwise, don't do it.
Yeah.
And then just be, when you're, and I found too, like, there's a fine line between being a friend, and there's a fine line to have that business personal relationship that's there. You need to have that personal relationship, and you'll have to be friends, but you don't need to be, it doesn't need to be like you're only one, setting those boundaries up on the front end, which we definitely did. Like, I made it a point to not answer calls for 2 days just to see how that would end up popping up. And, fortunately he's put up with it. So, and again, a lot of it is almost defensive because, I'm probably overreacting on the other side, but going through that again, I don't want to put my family or my team through that. So.
Right. Yeah. And it's not worth it.
It's not worth it, man. And I tell you, what the big aha was after all of that stuff popped up, and I had a chance to just, vent for, weeks at a time. When I finally had a chance to let that all go, it was amazing how much time I had to focus on even myself. Like, I was able to go and do a personal appointment just for me, not business related, but just do something for me to just de-stress. I didn't have that before. I used to wake up at 5, go, 4 o'clock, work out at 5. My day would start off at 6, handling some of the stuff with the builder. I had all this free time to do the things that I was neglecting to do, moving the needle to bring the buyers that were buyers and sellers back to me that were personal business. And I still had half of my day left.
Yeah. Crazy.
What's wild is, we just pulled, my wife just pulled all the numbers too. We pulled what we had last year with him and this year without him. We were with him for a couple of months, and there was some money that we got off of commissions, but we are a little above where we were this time last year without the stress. So yeah, it hurt. And I think that's probably the thing that bothered me the most. But, most people, when they get onto these relationships with the builder, they forget, and I was guilty, they forget about what got them there in the first place, and stop doing the things that made them successful to get that particular client. So don't do that.
Great point. Yeah. Just it puts you into some bad habits, very reactive state. I love that. If you guys, take anything away from the call, and I think it's any relationship you get into is just setting those boundaries, forming that agreement, getting crystal clear of success on both sides. And if it starts to go a little wobbly, then just step back for a second and say, hey, hold on, what am I missing here? Has the goal changed? Do we need to relook at the agreement? And it's going to, right? Because the season of the market is kind of going to dictate, what product, where they need to be. I would say too, one of the key things and to think about and consider if you're getting into a builder relationship, obviously the quality of their product, but how well do they service the product after the sale? What's that builder warranty look like? How quick are they on, those service, what is that agreement? What does that policy look like? What's, how good of a job do they take care of? Because ultimately, they're still your client, and, they're going to be coming back at you, and you could avoid a lot when you make sure that you've got a great builder that really backs up a great product.
That would be, sometimes it was on, sometimes it wasn't. And, sometimes when you're setting up because builders are looking at, when they're servicing those clients on the back end, they're looking at it from what's a warranty issue and what's a want. So, you know, in
Yeah.
Louisiana, if you go and move your couch in and you put a hole in the wall, it's not the builder's fault.
Right.
Paint's not a warranty item according to Louisiana Home Warranty Act. Same thing with like caulk. But as a service thing, you know, if it happens to be in there, you know, if you can choose to do it, or you could pass that along. But, you know, not answering or following up on a call that may be a service related ended up coming back to me from you know, hey man, I thought you told me this guy would take care of me, and you're like, setting up, find that, you know, having those calls and being able to step in and be able to help them out to get all that stuff done, having a procedure and checklist in place of what that looks like is huge.
Absolutely. Absolutely huge. So I think, you know, when you're evaluating that builder opportunity, that's got to be on your list for sure to really look at. Sweet, man, good stuff. You know, I know it was not a great experience to go through to be able to tell that story, but
it was terrible. But I'll tell you, you know, I think that looking back on it, I'm glad I went through it. You know, I did take a lot of things away of what to do differently. You know, I hate that it made me the person that I was in the process of reacting, and just having somebody that's, you know, that's there to voice out the event and actually listen. So I had that person with Heather to be able to jump back and say, hey, look, Robbie, like, this is not right. But, you know, part of me was like, you're just busting my chops. That's not what's going on. But actually being able to listen and get the feedback from the people that you were closest to when stuff starts happening and you turn into that reactionary state, listening to them first and being able to jump on that ahead of time was real big. So
I would say too, dude, are you plugged into like the Home Builder Association? You tapped into that group?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're with we do some functions with the Acadiana Home Builders, which is our local home builder association. We do a bunch of events and all that stuff with them too. I know a bunch of them around there just from doing deals. Like I said, it's a small big town. Everybody knows everybody.
Absolutely, man. You know, you and I, our markets are very similar, so we could definitely relate. And that was huge for us getting involved with the Home Builder Association, and we provided market value to them, right? So any of the events, we could speak high level on kind of what's going on in the market, keeping them in tune. You know, like our real market reports, they're on our list. They still, all the builders in Lawton, all the local home builders in Lawton, there's been some bigger state, regional type builders that have come and gone, but you still have your core of your local home builders. Man, they still get our market statistic every week, right? They get an email update with what's going on in the marketplace. We keep them in tune. You know, leveraging that market data, it's very valuable. You know, we even provided that data to all of the bank presidents, VPs, loan officers, and the builders hated us for a period of time. We really pissed them off because Lawton wasn't a big boom, and we were providing the market data to all of the bankers, and they were using our market statistics and our market data in their loan committee meetings. And when they started to see a shift in the market, they started to slow down the amount of money they were releasing on the builders, and the builders got pissed. Yeah, they got pissed at us. And it's like, hey guys, you know, you guys are about to overbuild in this damn market, and it's going to hurt you, right? And you know, it did. The market shifted. It ceased. A couple builders overbuilt themselves. You know, they were tapped out at 6 different banks, but you know, it helped save the market, and just providing that data. So, you know, best decisions are being made. So leverage that, man. Get involved with the associations. I loved what you said. You know, have that meeting, have that hard, difficult conversation on the front end, set those boundaries, create that agreement of success, get clear on their goals, your goals of success, and sign it.
One of the, and you actually used this line just a little while ago, and I not only do I use it with builders, but I use it with sellers, is tell me, would you like me to tell you what you want to hear, what you need me to hear, or what you need to hear? And nobody's ever told me what they want to hear, ever. Yeah. But now that they've given you, that you've asked that, you've been given permission to punch them right between the eyes.
Right.
What's up?
That's it.
And
that's
huge. Having that conversation, that's something to make sure you guys use out there for all of it. Buyers, sellers, builders doesn't have to be, it's, even inside your team meetings, if you're holding accountability stuff and they're slacking, you want me to tell you what you want to hear, what you need to hear? Well, you haven't met your goal. This is, according to what you were looking to do, you wanted this many dials and we were a third of that, whatever that happens to be. I want to help you get to your goal, but you have to keep up your end of the deal. So,
right. Yeah. Has the goal changed? Right. If it has, let me know. Right. That way I know, I know what I can do. Yeah. Yeah. And two, it's fine. Right. And I think the same principle applies even with your team. It's like, yeah, my goals changed. It's like, well, great. That's awesome. The thing is that we have a minimum standard around here, and, with your goal changing, you're not going to meet that. So let me help you, find a place that's going to be better suited for you. Right. So you do the right thing if it has changed. But yeah, just stay in high level communication with folks is key. Setting those boundaries and not letting people put you on their agenda, but holding firm to your own. Cool. Anything that you want to leave folks with?
Do you have any chat questions?
No, didn't have anything come through. If you guys are, watching the replay, you have any questions or anything pop up, feel free to message Robbie directly, reach out to me. We'll get anything situated. If you want to take this conversation a little bit deeper, if you're in the midst of possibly a bad builder relation, definitely reach out. We can help you. Robbie can definitely help you just going through that himself. And then if you're looking to get into a new relationship, setting some of those boundaries, Robbie's the guy to definitely connect with. You can talk about how to manage that, how to set that up to where it's a win. It's a win for you. It's a win for your team. It's a win for them as well. And really, I I don't know, man. I like the builder relationships as long as you set those boundaries, and they can definitely be a good source of business for yourself.
Absolutely. Yep. Know what divorce looks like on the front end.
That's right.
It's always great because everything else is Skittles and unicorns.
Yeah. All right, brother. I appreciate you, Robbie. Thank you for an amazing call.
Thank you for having me, man.
Adding a ton of value, being a true expert mentor in helping everybody out today. For all of you listening in to the recording or watching us or joining us live here, man, share your biggest takeaway, and also make sure you guys give some love for Robbie. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.